You've seen it, right? An entrepreneur walks into the Shark Tank, their hopes are sky high, and then they walk out with absolutely nothing. So what happens when the cameras turn off? Today, we're going to dig into 5 founders who heard a huge no from the sharks, only to go on and build honest-to-goodness empires. This is all about how rejection became the best thing that ever happened to them.
Ah, yes, the phrase every founder dreads hearing. 4 little words that feel like the end of the world. I mean, can you imagine? Your dream just seems to be evaporating right there in front of millions of people. But for the folks we're talking about today, this wasn't an ending. Oh no, it was just the beginning.
$1 billion? That's what one of these rejected companies was eventually bought for by Amazon. A billion with a B. So this isn't just about proving someone wrong, it's about a massive, colossal miscalculation by some of the smartest investors on the planet. Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it?
And that's the big question we're tackling. How did a whole panel of self-made millionaires and billionaires completely whiff on companies that would go on to make hundreds of millions, and in one case, $1 billion? We're going to break down exactly what they missed, and what these founders understood that the sharks just didn't.
All right, our first story is probably the most famous Shark Tank miss of all time. It's the story of Ring. And it all boils down to a classic case of having a brilliant solution, but pitching it for the completely wrong problem.
So picture this. Jamie Siminoff walks in with his invention, which at the time was called Doorbot. He's asking for a pretty big chunk of change, 700 grand. He does the demo, shows how you can see and talk to someone at your door from literally anywhere. It seems pretty cool, right? But the sharks, they just weren't feeling it.
And this was the nail in the coffin. Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful himself, hit him with that brutal line, "A solution looking for a problem." And just like that, all the sharks were out. They saw it as this niche little tech toy, not something for the mass market. And wow, they could not have been more wrong.
And this right here, this comparison shows you this simple but totally genius shift that happened after that rejection. Siminoff had this light bulb moment. He realized he wasn't selling a complicated gadget, he was selling peace of mind. He changed the name to Ring and shifted the entire company's focus from being a cool tech toy to being a simple, essential piece of home security.
So here's the key takeaway for you. Ring blew up because it stopped talking about fancy doorbells and started talking about keeping your family safe. If an investor isn't getting it, you got to take a hard look. Are you pitching the feature, or are you pitching the fundamental human need that you're solving?
Okay, so Ring's story is all about the power of pivoting after you get a no. But what happens when you get a yes that just feels wrong? See, not every rejection is an investor saying no. Sometimes it's the founder saying no thank you to the investors. This next part is all about having the guts to walk away from life-changing money.
This table breaks down 2 perfect examples. First, you've got Coffee Meets Bagel. Mark Cuban offered them $30 million, not for a piece of the company, for the whole company, and they said no. They believed their vision was way bigger. The result? They ended up raising money later at a valuation of over $150 million. Then you have the Books Company. The sharks passed because they said the margins were too thin, but the founder knew his farm-to-door supply chain was a total game changer. He stuck to his guns and built a company that's now doing over $100 million in revenue.
And this brings us to a really key insight. Before you even step foot in a pitch room, you need to know your bottom line. And I don't just mean valuation. I mean your vision. The goal isn't just to get any investor, it's to find the ones who already get why your way is different. That way you're not wasting your time trying to change their mind.
So we've seen a founder pivot after a no, and founders say no to a tempting offer. But what if the whole game of chasing venture capital is just the wrong path for you? Let's look at 2 companies that found huge success by basically throwing out the traditional rulebook.
So on the one hand, you have Zipswine. After they got rejected, they didn't go chase other investors. Nope, they chased customers and big distribution deals. They proved that a partnership with a retailer can be worth way more than an investor's check. And on the other hand, you have Kodiak Cakes. They took the slow and steady route, just reinvesting their profits, building this massive brand, all while keeping 100% of the company.
And this quote from Kodiak Cakes founder Joel Clark, it just says it all, doesn't it? For them, that rejection wasn't a failure. It was freedom. It meant they didn't have to chase growth at all costs. It let them build real long-term wealth on their own terms. And now they do over $200 million in revenue a year. Not bad.
So this brings up a really important question for any entrepreneur out there.
What do you really need? We're so often programmed to think the answer is investor money, when a lot of the time the real answer is just customers. Focusing on sales and distribution first can be a much smarter and way more sustainable path to building a business you actually own.
Okay, we've gone through some incredible comeback stories. So now let's put it all together. What's the common thread that connects all these successes? And more importantly, how can you turn that into a playbook for when, and I mean when, not if, you face rejection yourself?
Across all 5 of these stories, you see these 4 things pop up again and again. First, they had a crystal clear, unshakable vision. Second, they knew their numbers cold, better than any investor. Third, they knew that Shark Tank wasn't the only path to success. And finally, they all chose the long game, patiently building something great over the temptation of a quick win.
So what should you actually do? Step 1, listen. Don't get defensive, just listen to the feedback. But then, step 2, validate it. Do your actual customers have the same concerns, or is it just one investor's opinion? Based on that, you make the tough call. Step 3, do you pivot your strategy like Ring, or do you persist with your vision like the Books Co? And finally, step 4, go find your true believers, the partners and investors who get it from the jump.
At the end of the day, these stories teach us that rejection isn't a final verdict. It's just data. It's a chance to make your pitch better, to rethink your whole strategy, or, you know what, to double down on what you believe in. It forces you to ask those hard questions that can lead to billion-dollar answers. So, what's your story? Have you ever turned a no into your biggest win?